Let me just take you back a few months as we were preparing for snaps, and I was starting to think about what can I share with all of you that would add the maximum value to your lives. And obviously we have a group, you're coming from different backgrounds and different places and different experiences, and I was thinking, how can I add the maximum value to each of you as I share over the course of the weekend? And as I reflected on that, and as I thought about the things that I've been learning over the past year, I landed on a topic around how you can accomplish more in your life, based on the things that I've studied and researched over the past few years and have been implementing even within PGC, but outside of PGC with my family life as well. And I was excited about that topic, as it's not just been one that I've been researching, but it's been experiential as I've put it into practice. And then, just over a month ago, I stumbled upon a book. And it was a book that I read a decade ago. And the reason I know it was a decade ago was because it said in the inside cover, "Happy Birthday, Mano." And it was from my brother-in-law and his wife. And I pulled open this book, and I was reminded of how much that book had impacted my life. And as I reflected back, I realized that when I read it the first time, it was not just educational, it was convicting. But now as I began to reread it, because as soon as I saw it, it just flooded me with good memories of this book and how it challenged me, how it inspired me. And so I decided I was just going to read a chapter of it. And before I knew it, I was in the 3rd, 4th chapter, 8th, 9th chapter, and I was flying through this book. But this time, instead of being convicting, it was confirming. It was confirming that I had made significant changes over the past decade. Now, it's not that I arrived in what I'm going to share with you this weekend, but I was able to look at different aspects of my life and see significant growth. And as I dove into that book a second time over, I realized that the greatest gift I could give you this weekend was to share with you the things that I learned and the things that I've implemented in this specific realm of life. And it has to do with an epidemic that's swept across our landscape. And we live it out, we experience it in this cult of speed that we live in this fast breakneck speed environment that we call life presently. And what I learned was how to slow down, how to live fully, how to love deeply, how to appreciate, be present, and enjoy each moment. And I'd like to share with you tonight briefly, and then we'll unpack it even more tomorrow, and then again on Sunday morning, some of the things that I learned and some of the things that I implemented. But let me take you back a few years. And it was several years ago, I was driving home from a meeting. And I had a lot on my plate that day, as I'm sure many of you do. I'd gone into town, into the local city that we live just outside of, and I had this meeting, and as I'm coming home, I had a lot of things on my mind. The meeting that had just taken place. I was actually racing back home to get ready for the next meeting. In the meantime, I hadn't had a bite to eat, so I was eating lunch, literally. For those of you who have ever driven with me, I developed sometime along the way the not so good habit of eating while I'm driving. And that's been something I've been growing out of. But at that point in time, I was still eating. I was on the fly. I was thinking about the things that I needed to do later that day, the meeting that had just happened, family time, and things that we've been talking about with our kids. And I had all of these different thoughts on my mind while eating, while driving. And then I hopped on a call. And now I was multitasking, doing all sorts of things at once. And I'm in the midst of this call, and all of a sudden in front of me, I see a transport truck that is rolled over, and I see a police officer waving madly at me. I mean, just waving. So I come to a stop. I'm like, oh my goodness, what just happened? This truck has turned over in the middle of the road, and he comes running up to my car, the police officer. He comes running up. He says, "What are you doing?" What am I doing? I'm just driving home. I just live a few miles down the street. I'm from Canada, a few kilometers down the street. And he says to me, "This road is closed. There's a chemical spill right here. This transport truck turned over a few hours ago. The entire road is blocked off. What are you doing driving?" And I paused. I said, "What do you mean the road's blocked off? They must have moved it, because I've been on this road for the last 5 minutes and there's no signs. How would I know the road is blocked off?" And he said, "The entire road is closed back there, just about 1,000 feet back." And I said, "Officer, look, I appreciate that you're doing your job." At least this is what I was thinking. I don't think I actually said it just like this, but I'm pretty sure I would have seen a street that was completely closed off. I'm driving here, so evidently the street wasn't completely closed off, and I'm pretty sure that it wasn't closed off at all. Maybe you closed off the side street or another entry point, but I think you missed the main street. So I didn't say that, but I was thinking that. He said, "Just 1 minute," and he walks away. I'm getting ready to U-turn, trying to figure out how I'm going to take an alternative way to get back to my house. And I'm thinking about all the different meetings, and I was just in the midst of a phone call as well. I'm telling one of my staff members, "Just hang on a second. I'll be back in a minute. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here." And the next thing you know, he comes back over, and he starts writing me a ticket. I said, "Officer, excuse me, what's going on?" And he said, "You violated the road signs." He said, "I'm writing you a ticket. I can't believe you drove past the road closure." And now some of the thoughts that I had now came to life in the form of words. And I said, "Officer, with all due respect, I've driven down this road 1,000 times. I would notice if there was a road closure sign anywhere in sight. Maybe someone took it down. Maybe someone moved it. I didn't see it." And he said, "It's there," and he wasn't about to have a conversation, and I wasn't about to be disrespectful, but I was a little frustrated because my meeting was running late, and he was writing me a few $100 ticket. So he gives me the ticket. Now I'm bound and determined. I'm bound and determined to go back and look for this road closure sign. I'm going to take a picture of it, if it even exists. And I'm thinking, how do I get out of this? Can I turn around and go back and see him and show him, "Look, somebody moved the sign. Somebody knocked over, it's in the ditch now." You know, and going to prove that I hadn't actually done anything wrong. And in my arrogance, that was my mindset. And I was anticipating that there was a small, maybe posted, not one in the ground, but a sign similar to this. Just a small sign off to the side that somehow I could have missed, but I felt like it should have been more obvious. And so I went looking for this sign that was somewhere near the road, somewhere in the ditch. And to my shock, to my horror, it looked exactly like this. And I pulled back around, and I pulled over to the side of the road. And I paused, and my first thought was, they just put that up in the last 2 or 3 minutes. There is no way that I drove off the road, halfway into the ditch, swerved back around, and didn't even notice. Well, when I saw that picture right there, you better believe I didn't turn around and drive back to that police officer. I put my tail between my legs, and I went home. And the entire time driving home, I was thinking, how did that happen? How did it happen? I wasn't laughing, I was crying. I was thinking, what happened? And I realized something. I realized that in that moment, while thinking about the meeting that had just wrapped up, while thinking about the next meeting that I was racing to get back to my office for, while thinking about my kids and what we were going to talk about at dinner, while eating at the same time, while talking on the telephone, while doing all of those different things, I realized that I had a fractured mind. It was fractured. It was fractured in so many different ways that I had lost the ability to be aware and to be present. And how often in our fast-paced lives, and we can't escape the fast-paced nature of our lives. It's everywhere, from our emails to our text messages to our computers. Everything is fast and it's not slowing down. But I want to share with you ways, strategies to live slow in a fast-paced world. And I realized that at any given moment, we are just a moment away from being present. The opposite of what I was in that moment. Because in that moment, I had that fractured mind, thoughts going every different direction. And what I realized, and what I was really horrified to think about and to contemplate, because I was fortunate. That could have been a really dangerous situation. And it just made me think about what were the other things I might have missed on the road that day. What are the things we miss on our road, on the path, on our journey every single day? Because we have fractured minds. We're thinking about one thing and doing another. And we're preparing and we're thinking about the past. We're focused on the future. And so often, it's so easy for us to not be present. And do you know how long it takes to regain being present? It takes a moment. Tyler talked about changing your state and hitting peak state. Well, there's another state that you can change into, and you can change into it just as quickly as you change it into your peak state, and that's the state of being present. And one really simple tool that I found has been very helpful over the years is just one slow, deep breath. Are you present right now? Have you been present since you stepped into this room? Have you been just in the here and now? Not fast forward, not to tomorrow, not to next week, not to that appointment, that meeting, anything else you have going on, not living in the past, thinking, resenting something that took place or somebody else, whatever it might be in the past. Are you present right here, right now? Just feel your feet. Where are they? On the floor, one leg crossed over. Feel your heart beating for a moment. Now take one slow, deep breath and then smile. And in that breath, you can let go of the past, you can release the future, and you can live in the present. And in the midst of this somewhat crazy world we live in which speed is celebrated, in which this cult of speed is fostered every day, in which we talk about being busy and we see someone and we say, how you doing? And they say, oh, I'm so busy. And this one-upmanship, oh, well, let me tell you about how crazy my world is. And then somebody else tells you how crazy their world is and how busy we are. And somehow that's some badge of achievement, that somehow busyness has been linked to success. And we think if we're busy, then we must be successful. And I've just gotten in the habit of telling people when they say, are you busy right now? No, not really. And the shock that people, those shocked look. And I've even had somebody say, multiple people say, sorry to hear that. You know, well, you're not busy? Well, what's wrong? And my life is full. My life is full. I'm sure your life is full. Many of you are in school. Some of you are teachers. Some of you are coaches, business owners. We all have lots of things on our plates. There's a difference between living a full, rich, rewarding, life-giving life and being busy. Busy to me just sounds like a whole lot of activity that leads to feeling stressed and feeling worried and feeling frustrated. And I don't know about you, but I really think there's only 3 things I do in a day. I create, at least I attempt to. I inspire, at least I attempt to. And I try and solve complex challenges and create solutions. And I think that's what you do every day as well. You create Some of you are creating an environment for your team as a captain or team member. Some of you as a coach, you're creating an environment for your team to thrive and be successful. And every day you're creating. If you're not creating, maybe you're inspiring. You're inspiring your family. You're inspiring others around you. For those of you coaching, you're inspiring your players. We're creating, we're inspiring. We're trying to solve complex problems to come up with winning solutions. And somehow that gets boiled down into busyness, which I just think causes our hearts to beat faster and causes us not to be present. And what's the consequences of us living in this fast-paced world that seems to be spinning out of control? Well, we tend to so often spin with it. And when we spin with it, the consequences are often much more than just the price of an expensive fine or ticket that I had to pay that day. And as a result, we so often neglect our bodies. We neglect our families. We neglect our neighbors. We neglect contributing to our community. We neglect our diet. We neglect reflection. We neglect great literature. We neglect so many things in life for the sake of activity. And what I've come to realize is that I don't necessarily want to bring my activity to a halt. I want to be highly productive, and I want to be more efficient and more effective in everything that I do, but I also want to learn how to live present. And what I've come to realize is that I'm only one breath away from reminding myself how blessed we all are, from reminding myself that I have health and that I have strength and the opportunity to live each day, and that this day is a gift. And you too are only one breath away. You're one moment from just refocusing in on the present. So to kick off this weekend, I close by just inviting you to take one slow, deep breath. And anytime you're feeling like you're focused on the future, you're worried about something, you're focused on the past, and you're not in the moment, just know you're always just one moment, because you can change your state in a moment from being back to being present, where you can live more fully, love more deeply, appreciate and enjoy this gift of life. Take that breath with me now and smile. I think of the analogy that we share with basketball players at our summer sessions. It's not special to play fast and out of control. Anyone can do that. It's also not very special to play slow and just walk everywhere you go up court, and that's not special either. What's special for a basketball player is the ability to change speeds, to play fast and to, if you know the answer to that, call it out, to play fast and to be able to stop on a dime. So how do you do in your life changing speeds? To be able to play at one speed through your life and be able to shift gears. So what are the different gears? You may have many different gears. Let me share 3 gears that I attempt to live at on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and a yearly basis. And I'm going to unpack each 3.